The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. London wore it like a second skin, all slick cobblestones and shivering streetlights. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins, known to the world as just Adele, stepped off the train at King's Cross, her boots splashing in a puddle that smelled faintly of regret. She was 37, a voice that could crack hearts open. But tonight she wasn't the global icon. She was just a woman coming home. The city didn't care about her Grammys or her sold-out tours. It had its own pulse and it was beating hard. She tugged her scarf tighter, the wool scratching her chin, and hauled her suitcase through the station. Faces blurred past, commuters with eyes glued to phones, a busker mangling one of her own songs on a guitar. She smirked, almost stopped to toss him a coin, but the weight of the day pulled her forward. Home. Tottenham. The place she hadn't seen in years, not since fame had swept her up and spat her out across oceans. Her mum's old flat was waiting, keys jangling in her pocket like a promise she wasn't sure she could keep. The cab ride was quiet, just the hum of tires on wet asphalt and the driver's radio muttering about a body found near the Thames. Adele barely listened. Her phone buzzed, a text from her manager. "You sure about this break? World's waiting." She didn't reply. The world could wait. She needed roots, not wings for once. The flat smelled of damp and lavender, her mum's ghost in every corner. Adele dropped her bag, flicked on a lamp, and let the silence settle. The place was frozen in time, down to the chipped teacups and the faded photo of her grandmother, Rose, on the mantel. Rose with her sharp eyes and secrets tucked behind a smile. Adele traced the frame, her fingers catching dust. She hadn't thought of her grandmother in years, not properly, but something about the air tonight felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. She wandered to the kitchen, put the kettle on, and that's when it came back. Soft at first, like a memory sneaking up. The lullaby. "Hush now, my darling, the Thames keeps its own. Sleep where the shadows and secrets are sown." Her grandmother's voice, low and cracked, singing her to sleep as a kid. Adele froze, the melody curling around her like smoke. She hadn't heard it in decades, hadn't thought of it. So why now? Why here? The kettle screamed, snapping her out of it. She poured tea, hands shaky, and told herself it was jet lag. Just jet lag. But the song wouldn't leave, looping in her head, each note tugging at something she couldn't name. She sank onto the couch, staring at the ceiling, when a thud came from upstairs. The attic. Her heart kicked up a notch. Probably a pipe or the wind. Old houses had their tantrums. Still, she grabbed a flashlight from the drawer, her pulse loud in her ears. The attic stairs creaked under her weight, each step a warning. The air up there was thick, smelling of mildew and forgotten things. Boxes were stacked like tombstones, labeled in her mum's neat handwriting. Adele swept the flashlight beam across them, half expecting a rat to skitter out. Instead she saw it. A small chest tucked in the corner, its lock rusted but intact. Something about it felt wrong, like it was watching her back. She knelt, the floorboards groaning, and pried the lock open with a screwdriver from a nearby toolbox. Inside was a mess of papers, yellowed photos, and a single leather-bound book. Her grandmother's journal. Adele's breath caught. She flipped it open, the pages brittle under her fingers. The words were roses, all sharp loops and urgency, dated a century ago. The lullaby isn't just a song. It's a map. A warning. The Thames never forgets. A chill ran through her, not from the cold. She kept reading, her eyes snagging on a phrase. The murders will come again. Murders? What murders? Her grandmother had never spoken of anything like that, not to her. Adele's phone buzzed in her pocket, making her jump. A news alert. Another body by the Thames, the second this week. Stabbed, throat slashed. A single white flower left on the chest. The article mentioned a cold case, a string of killings from the early 1900s eerily similar. A lullaby hummed at the scenes. Her mouth went dry. She clutched the journal, the flashlight shaking in her hand. That's when she saw the note, slipped between the journal's pages. It was new, the paper crisp, the ink fresh. For words scrawled in a hand she didn't know. "Adele, you're the key." She stumbled back, the attic spinning. Her name. Her bloody name. The lullaby hummed in her mind, louder now, drowning out the rain. Downstairs, the radio crackled. A reporter's voice cutting through. "Police are baffled. The killer's calling card, a lullaby, matches one sung a century ago." Adele's tea went cold on the counter. She didn't sleep that night. Morning brought no relief. The sky was still gray, the news still grim. Adele sat at the kitchen table, the journal open, the note staring back. She needed answers, but where to start? The police? They'd laugh her off, a pop star playing detective. Her Aunt Lillian maybe, but they hadn't spoken in years, not since the funeral. Still, Lillian knew Rose better than anyone. If anyone had answers, it was her. Adele pulled on her coat, the journal tucked under her arm, and stepped into the drizzle. Tottenham's streets were alive, all honking cabs and schoolkids dodging puddles. She passed a newsstand, the headline screaming, "Thames killer strikes again." Her stomach twisted. She didn't notice the man watching her from across the street, his hood up, his eyes sharp. Not yet. At the police station, she was directed to Detective Jamie Thompson, a man with a face like he'd seen too many bad days. He leaned back in his chair, sizing her up. "Miss Adkins," he said, his voice gravelly, "you're a long way from the stage. What's this about a lullaby?" "It's Adele," she corrected, sliding the note across his desk. "And it's about my name on this. Found it last night, with my grandmother's journal. Talks about murders. Old ones. Like the ones you're chasing now." Jamie's eyes narrowed, but he didn't touch the note. "You're saying you've got evidence? From a journal? Look, I've got enough crackpots calling about this case. Don't need a celebrity stirring the pot." "I'm not stirring anything," Adele snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "My grandmother wrote about a lullaby, same as the one your killer's humming. And this note's got my name. You telling me that's coincidence?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "All right. Leave the note. I'll look into it. But don't go playing Nancy Drew, yeah? This ain't your world." She wanted to argue, but his phone rang and he waved her out. Back on the street, the rain had stopped, but the air felt heavier. Adele's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "The Thames is singing. Are you listening?" Her blood went cold. She spun around, scanning the crowd, but no one stood out. Just faces, strangers, London's endless churn. She headed for Lillian's place, her boots pounding the pavement, the journal await in her bag. The lullaby looped in her head, each note a question. What did her grandmother know? Why was her name in that note? And who the hell was watching her? The Thames rolled on, silent but alive, its shadow stretching long across the city. Adele didn't know it yet, but she was already in too deep. London never slept, but it dozed fitfully under a sky that couldn't decide whether to cry or just sulk. Adele Laurie Blue Atkins trudged through Camden's bustle, her scarf pulled tight against the damp chill. The journal in her bag felt heavier than it should, its pages whispering questions she wasn't ready to answer. Her grandmother's words, that cursed lullaby, and the note with her name scrawled like a threat, they clung to her like the city's fog. She hadn't slept, not properly. Every creak in her mum's old flat had her reaching for the light, expecting a shadow that didn't belong. The text from last night still burned in her mind. "The Thames is singing. Are you listening?" She blocked the number, but it didn't help. Whoever sent it knew her, or at least knew enough to make her skin crawl. She needed answers, and Detective Jamie Thompson wasn't giving them. He'd barely glanced at the note, his eyes saying he thought she was chasing headlines, not truth. Fine. She'd find her own way. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Another murder. A woman throat slashed, found at dawn near Blackfriars Bridge. A white flower on her chest, just like the last one. The article mentioned the lullaby again, hummed by a witness who'd fled the scene. Adele's stomach churned. She stopped by a cafe, the smell of burnt coffee grounding her, and opened the journal again. Rose's handwriting was a maze, all cryptic phrases and half-finished thoughts. One line stood out, dated 1922. "The lullaby binds the blood. Calls them back." Calls who? The victims? The killer? Adele's tea went cold as she read on, her finger tracing a sketch of the Thames, its banks marked with crosses. 7 of them. 7 murders a century ago. Her grandmother had mapped them. A shadow fell across the table. She looked up, heart lurching, to see a man in a gray coat, his face all angles and curiosity. "You're Adele," he said, not a question. His voice was smooth American with a hint of something sharper. "I'm Ethan Ward. Journalist. Mind if I sit?" She closed the journal, her guard up. "Depends. You stalking me?" Ethan Ward? Or is this just London's smallest cafe? He grinned, sliding into the chair opposite without waiting for permission. Not stalking. Researching. Those murders? I've been digging into the old case for years. The Thames killer, they called him back then. 7 women, same pattern. White flower lullaby, the works. And now it's happening again. Adele's pulse quickened, but she kept her face steady. And you're telling me this why? Hoping for a quote from a pop star. Ethan leaned forward, his eyes locking on hers. Because I saw you at the station yesterday talking to Thompson. You're not just a bystander. You've got something. That book, maybe. He nodded at the journal, his voice dropping. I know about the lullaby. My great-grandfather was a cop on the original case. He heard it too. Said it was cursed. She didn't like how much he knew, or how his gaze seemed to peel back her defenses. You're awfully chatty for a stranger, she said, tucking the journal into her bag. If you've got theories, take them to Jamie. He loves a good story. Ethan didn't flinch. Thompson's a bulldog, but he's chasing his tail. The killer's not random. They're copying the old murders beat for beat. Same locations, same ritual. And I think you know why. He paused, his voice softer now, almost intimate. The lullaby. It's not just a song, is it? Her throat tightened. He was too close to the truth, and she didn't even know what the truth was. You're fishing, she said, standing. Nice try, but I'm not your scoop. She left him there, his eyes following her out the door. The street was loud, all honking cabs and vendors shouting about cheap umbrellas. Adele's mind raced. Ethan knew too much, details that hadn't made the news. The crosses in the journal, the lullaby's weight. Was he just a journalist or something else? She needed to talk to Lillian, her aunt, the only person left who might know what Rose was hiding. But Lillian's flat was across town, and Adele wasn't ready to face her yet. Not after years of silence, not with this mess curling around her like river weeds. She headed for the Thames instead, drawn to its gray churn. The journal mentioned Blackfriars, the latest murder site. Maybe there was something there. A clue the police missed. The bridge loomed ahead, its arches heavy with history. Police tape fluttered in the wind. A small crowd gawking where the body had been found. Adele slipped past, her boots crunching on wet gravel, and crouched by the water's edge. The air smelled of silt and iron. She scanned the ground, half expecting nothing when she saw it. A faint carving in the stone barely visible. A crescent moon like the one sketched in Rose's journal. Her breath caught. She pulled out her phone, snapped a photo, and opened the journal to compare. The sketch matched down to the angle of the curve. Rose had been here, or someone had, a century ago. Adele's fingers brushed the stone, cold and slick, when a voice cut through the air. Oi, you shouldn't be here. She spun, facing a uniformed cop, his face all frowns. Just looking, she said, standing quickly. Didn't touch anything. He squinted, recognizing her. You're that singer. Look, this is a crime scene. Piss off before I call Thompson. She didn't argue, but as she walked away, her phone buzzed again. Another text, same unknown number. The moon sees you. Keep looking. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She scanned the crowd, the bridge, the river, but no one stood out. Just London watching her back. Back at the flat, she spread the journal's pages across the kitchen table. The kettle whistling ignored. The crosses, the moon, the lullaby, they were pieces of a puzzle she didn't understand. She called Jamie, her voice sharper than she meant. Jamie, it's Adele. That note I gave you, you look at it yet? He sighed, static crackling. Miss Atkins, I've got a fresh body and no sleep. Your note's on my desk, but I ain't a magician. You got something new, spit it out. The journal, she said, pacing. My grandmother wrote about the old murders. She marked the spots, same as these new ones. Blackfriars, there's a crescent moon carved there. Check it. A pause, then his voice softened just a fraction. All right. I'll send someone to look. But you stay out of it, yeah? This killer's not playing games. She hung up, her hands shaking. Stay out of it? Not a chance. The lullaby was in her blood now, its notes pulling her deeper. She flipped to a new page in the journal, her eyes catching a name. Lillian Green, keeper of the song. Her aunt. Adele's jaw tightened. Lillian had answers, and it was time to get them. She grabbed her coat, the rain starting again, a soft hiss against the windows. As she stepped outside, she didn't see Ethan across the street, his phone to his ear, his voice low. "She's got the journal," he said to someone unseen. "And she's closer than she thinks." The Thames rolled on, its ripples hiding secrets, and Adele walked straight into them, unaware of the eyes on her back. Thank you for listening to these incredible stories. Our team would really appreciate it if you give us a like and comment. Your opinion is very important to us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. The rain had let up, but Tottenham streets glistened like they were holding grudges. Adele Laurie Blue Atkins weaved through the morning crowd, her boots scuffing against cracked pavement. The journal in her bag was a ticking bomb, its pages heavy with her grandmother's cryptic warnings. That lullaby, "Hush now, my darling, the Thames keeps its own," looped in her head, each note tightening the knot in her chest. She hadn't slept properly in days, not since the note with her name, not since Ethan Ward's two knowing eyes in that cafe. And those texts, the latest one about the moon, they were claws in her mind. Someone was watching her, and she was done waiting for answers. Lillian Green's flat was her next stop. Her aunt, the one person who might know why Rose's journal read like a confession. Adele hadn't seen Lillian in years, not since her mum's funeral, when words were few and the air was thick with things unsaid. Lillian had always been a vault, all sharp glances and clipped answers, but she'd been close to Rose. If anyone knew about the lullaby or the murders, it was her. Adele's breath puffed in the cold as she climbed the steps to the narrow brick building, its windows fogged with age. She knocked, the sound swallowed by the hum of the city. The door creaked open and there she was. Lillian, 62, her hair a steely gray, her eyes like chipped flint. "Adele," she said, her voice flat, no warmth in it. "Didn't expect you. What's this about?" Adele forced a smile, her nerves jangling. "Good to see you too, Lillian. Can I come in? Need to talk." "About Gran." Lillian's jaw tightened, but she stepped aside. The flat was cluttered, all faded doilies and shelves stuffed with books. It smelled of tea and something musty, like secrets left too long in the dark. Adele sat on a sagging couch, the journal burning a hole in her bag. "I found something," she said, pulling it out. "Gran's journal. Talks about murders. A lullaby. Same one you used to hum when I was a kid." Lillian's face didn't move, but her hand stilled on the teapot she'd been filling. "Old stories," she said, turning away. "Rose liked her mysteries. Doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't mean anything?" Adele's voice rose, sharper than she meant. "Lillian, people are dying. Same way they did 100 years ago. Gran wrote about it, marked the spots. And my name's in a note I found with this. You telling me that's nothing?" Lillian set the teapot down hard, the clink loud in the quiet. "You're chasing ghosts, girl. Let it go. You've got your fame, your life. Don't dig up what's buried." Adele leaned forward, her patience fraying. "I'm not digging for fun, Lillian. Someone's out there killing, leaving flowers, humming that song. And they know me. What did Gran know? What aren't you saying?" Lillian's eyes flickered, a crack in her armor, but she shook her head. "You're tired, Adele. Jet lag's got you seeing things. Go home. Rest." Adele stood, her blood hot. "Fine. Keep your secrets. But I'm not stopping." She grabbed her bag and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The street felt colder now, the sky a bruise over London. Lillian was hiding something, and it wasn't just family gossip. Adele's phone buzzed, another news alert. A third body found in Tottenham, not far from where she stood. Same pattern. Throat slashed, white flower lullaby. Her stomach dropped. Too close. Too bloody close. The journal mentioned a Tottenham alley, one of Rose's crosses marking it. Adele checked the map on her phone, her fingers clumsy with adrenaline. It was 10 minutes away. She shouldn't go, not alone, not after Jamie's warning to stay out of it. But the lullaby was pulling her, its notes a thread she couldn't cut. She walked fast, the city blurring around her, until she reached the alley. It was narrow-shadowed, the kind of place that swallowed light. Graffiti scarred the walls and the air smelled of piss and damp brick. She stepped in, her boots echoing, the journal open in her hands. Rose's sketch showed a crescent moon like the one at Blackfriars, carved somewhere here. She scanned the walls, her flashlight beam dancing over cracked stone. There it was, low to the ground, half hidden by weeds. The same curve, the same weight. She crouched, her heart loud, and traced it with her finger. It felt alive, like it was watching her back. A noise behind her, a scuff of boots. She spun, the flashlight catching a figure in the dark, hooded too far to see clearly. "Who's there?" she called, her voice sharper than she felt. No answer, just the hum of the lullaby, soft and wrong, coming from the shadows. Her blood went cold. She backed up, the journal slipping from her hands, pages fluttering to the ground. The figure moved closer, deliberate, their breath a rasp in the quiet. Adele ran. Her boots pounded the pavement, the alley's walls closing in. She didn't look back, didn't dare, until she burst onto the main street, the crowd swallowing her. She leaned against a lamppost, gasping, her heart a drum in her chest. The journal. She dropped it. She cursed, her hands shaking, but going back wasn't an option. Not now. Not with that hum still ringing in her ears. She called Jamie, her voice ragged. "Jamie, it's Adele. I was in Tottenham, an alley. Found another moon carving like Blackfriars. Someone was there, humming the lullaby. I lost the journal." His sigh was heavy, laced with irritation. "Bloody hell, Adele, I told you to stay out of it. You're lucky you're not dead. Where are you now?" "High Street," she said, scanning the crowd. No hooded figure, but the weight of eyes lingered. "Jamie, they knew I was there. They're following me." "Stay put," he said, his voice tight. "I'm sending a car. And don't move, yeah? You're in deep enough." She hung up, her breath still uneven. The alley, the hum, Lillian's evasion, it was all connected, and she was the thread tying it together. Her phone buzzed. A new text from that unknown number. "You dropped something. I'll keep it safe." Her knees buckled. The journal was gone and someone had it. Someone who knew her every step. A police car pulled up, its lights cutting through the gray. Adele climbed in, her mind racing. Jamie was waiting at the station, his face a storm cloud. "You're reckless," he said, tossing her a cup of tea. "But that moon carving? It's real. Matches the old case files. You're onto something, Adele, but you're playing with fire." She gripped the cup, the heat grounding her. "Then help me, Jamie. Grand's journal, it's got answers. And now it's out there with them." He nodded slow, his eyes softer now. "All right. We'll look for it. But you stick with me, yeah? No more solo trips." She agreed, but her mind was already elsewhere. Lillian's flat, the alley, Ethan's too smooth voice. The lullaby wasn't just a song. It was a call, and she was answering it, whether she wanted to or not. The Thames watched, its ripples hiding truths, and Adele felt its pull, deeper than ever. London's pulse thrummed under a sky that spat drizzle like it was holding a grudge. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins sat in a Tottenham pub, the kind where the air smelled of stale beer and regret. The stage was small, just a corner with a mic and a piano, but she'd agreed to perform tonight, a low-key gig to feel normal again. Normal. As if that word meant anything after the alley, the lost journal, and the lullaby that wouldn't leave her alone. Her hands shook as she sipped water, the crowd's chatter a dull roar in her ears. She was here to sing, but her mind was on the Thames, its shadows, and the killer who knew her name. Jamie Thompson had called an hour ago, his voice all gravel and frustration. They'd found no trace of the journal in the alley, no hooded figure, no answers. The moon carving was real though, etched in stone a century ago, just like the one at Blackfriars. He'd told her to stay put, to stop chasing ghosts, but sitting still wasn't in her blood. Not when the texts kept coming. The latest, sent just before she'd left for the pub. "Sing for me tonight." "I'm listening." Her stomach twisted, but she'd deleted it, refusing to let it burrow deeper. The pub's owner, a wiry man with a smoker's cough, waved her toward the stage. "You're up, love," he said, grinning like he'd won the lottery having her here. Adele forced a smile, her boots heavy as she climbed the steps. The crowd hushed, phones already out, recording. She sat at the piano, its keys worn but warm, and let her fingers find the notes. Not her hits, not tonight. Something older, rawer. A ballad she'd written years ago, before fame, about home and loss. Her voice filled the room, rich and cracked, and for a moment, the world felt small again. Halfway through, she met eyes with a woman at the bar. Young, maybe 25, with dark curls and a stare that didn't waver. Sarah Clark, the bartender, who'd poured Adele's water earlier with a shy smile and a story about her gran singing the same lullaby Adele couldn't shake. "Hush now, my darling, the Thames keeps its own." Sarah had laughed it off, said it was just an old tune. But her eyes had flickered like she knew more than she let on. Adele kept singing, but Sarah's gaze stayed, heavy with something unspoken. The song ended, the crowd clapping, some whistling. Adele nodded, her throat tight, and started another. That's when it happened. A scream from the back, sharp enough to cut glass. The crowd parted, heads turning, as a woman stumbled forward, clutching her side. Blood seeped through her fingers, dark against her white blouse. She collapsed near the stage, a white flower pinned to her chest, its petals stark in the dim light. The pub erupted, shouts, chairs scraping, phones now filming the chaos. Adele froze, her hand still on the keys. The lullaby hummed in her mind, unbidden, its notes twisting with the woman's gasps. Sarah vaulted the bar, kneeling beside the woman, her hands shaking as she pressed a towel to the wound. "Call an ambulance," Sarah yelled, her voice steady despite the panic in her eyes. Adele snapped out of it, grabbing her phone, dialing emergency services. The crowd was a mess, some fleeing, others gawking, but Adele's eyes caught something else. A figure near the door, hooded, slipping out into the night. Her heart lurched. The same shadow from the alley? She couldn't be sure. Police swarmed in minutes, Jamie among them, his face a storm cloud. He barked orders, clearing the pub, while paramedics worked on the woman. Adele stood by the piano, her hands cold, watching Sarah give a statement to a cop. Jamie approached, his eyes hard. "Adele, what the hell happened? You were supposed to stay low." "I was singing, Jamie, not hunting killers," she snapped, her voice sharper than she meant. "She was fine, then she wasn't. Blood flower, same as the others. You think I planned this?" He sighed, rubbing his neck. "No. But this is 3 now, and you're in the middle of it. You see anything? Anyone?" She hesitated, the hooded figure flashing in her mind. Maybe. Someone left quick, hooded. Couldn't see their face. She didn't mention the text. Not yet. Felt too raw, too personal. Jamie nodded, jotting it down. "Stay here. We'll need your statement." He moved off, barking at a rookie to secure the scene. Adele's legs felt like jelly, but she didn't sit. She couldn't. Sarah caught her eye again, wiping her hands on her apron, blood smudged across it. She walked over, her face pale but calm. "You all right?" Sarah asked, her voice soft, a faint London lilt in it. "That was... God, I've never seen anything like it." Adele shook her head, her throat tight. "Not all right. You said your gran knew the lullaby. What else did she say? Anything about murders? Old ones?" Sarah's eyes flickered, just like before. "Not much. Just that it was a river song tied to the Thames. Said it carried bad luck. I thought she was just being dramatic." She paused, glancing at the blood on the floor. "Guess she wasn't." Adele wanted to press, but Jamie called Sarah over for another question. Alone again, Adele felt the weight of the night settle. She grabbed her bag, ready to leave when something clinked inside. Frowning, she reached in and pulled out a piano key, its ivory stained red. Blood. Her breath stopped. She hadn't put it there. Someone had, during the chaos or before. Her hands shook as she turned it over, finding a tiny engraving. A crescent moon. She shoved it back in her bag, her pulse hammering. The key wasn't random. It was a message, like the note, like the text. She glanced at Jamie but didn't call him over. This was hers, at least until she understood it. Back at her mum's flat, she locked the door, her hands still trembling. The piano key sat on the kitchen table, the blood dry now, flaking. She opened her bag again, pulling out a scarf when a creak came from the living room. Her heart skipped. The flat was old, always creaking, but this felt different. She grabbed a knife from the counter, her breath shallow, and crept toward the sound. The living room was dark, the lamp flickering. Nothing. Just shadows. But on the coffee table, where she hadn't looked before, was a small box, wooden, old. Her grandmother's. She hadn't seen it in years, hadn't known it was here. The knife still in hand, she opened it, the hinges groaning. Inside was a single sheet of paper, yellowed with Rose's handwriting. "The key unlocks the truth. Find the lock before they find you." Adele's knees buckled. She sank onto the couch, the knife clattering to the floor. The piano key. It wasn't just a taunt. It was a clue. She grabbed the key, her fingers brushing the moon engraving, and ran to the attic where she'd found the journal. The chest was still there, its lock rusted but intact. She fumbled with the key, her hands clumsy, and slid it into the lock. Fit. The chest clicked open, revealing a bundle of letters tied with twine, and a photograph of Rose Young standing by the Thames, a crescent moon pendant around her neck. Her phone buzzed, shattering the silence. Another text. "You're close, Adele. But so am I." She dropped the phone, her breath ragged. The lullaby hummed in her mind, louder now, its notes a warning. Someone was out there watching, waiting. And they'd been in her flat. London's fog clung to the streets like a jealous lover, wrapping Tottenham in a haze that blurred the edges of everything. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins sat on the attic floor of her mum's flat, the open chest in front of her, its secrets spilling out like blood from a wound. The piano key, stained with blood and etched with a crescent moon, had unlocked it, just as her grandmother's note promised. The bundle of letters inside, tied with twine, smelled of dust and time. Rose's handwriting covered them, sharp and urgent, each word a threat tying Adele to a past she didn't understand. The lullaby, "Hush now, my darling, the Thames keeps its own," hummed in her mind, its notes a pulse she couldn't shake. She hadn't slept, not after the text that came last night. "You're close, Adele. But so am I." Someone had been in her flat, left that box, and they were still out there, watching. She untied the letters, her hand steady despite the fear gnawing her gut. The first one was dated 1922, addressed to Lillian, her aunt, who'd been just a child then. "My dearest Lillian, the lullaby is our burden. It binds us to the river, to the sins we didn't choose. If the murders come again, you must guard the truth." Adele's breath caught. Sins? What had Rose done? The next letter mentioned a name, Margaret Wentworth, a woman killed in the original Thames murders, her throat slashed, a white flower on her chest. Rose wrote of guilt, of knowing Margaret, of failing her. Adele's head spun. Her grandmother wasn't just documenting the murders. She was part of them somehow. A photograph slipped from the bundle, yellowed but clear. Rose Young stood by the Thames, her crescent moon pendant glinting. Beside her was another woman, older, her face stern, holding a book. The back read, "Rose and Clara, 1922. The Order of the Crescent." Adele frowned. An order? Some kind of secret society? The journal had hinted at something bigger. But this felt like a door she wasn't ready to open. She tucked the photo in her pocket, her mind racing. Lillian had lied, brushing off the lullaby as nothing. She knew more, maybe everything. Adele's phone buzzed, a call from Jamie Thompson. She answered, her voice rough. "Jamie, tell me you've got something. The journal, the alley, anything." His sigh crackled through the line. "Adele, we're drowning here. No journal, no prints in the alley. But that moon carving, it's in the old case files, marked at every murder site. You were right. There's a pattern. And the pub victim, she's stable barely. Said she heard the lullaby before the attack." Adele's grip tightened on the phone. "Jamie, I found letters. Grants. They talk about the murders, someone named Margaret Wentworth, and something called the Order of the Crescent. She was involved, Jamie. And Lillian's hiding it." A pause, then his voice hardened. "You're still poking around? After the pub? Adele, this killer's not just copying. They're targeting. That piano key in your bag, it's personal. You need to back off." "Back off?" she snapped, pacing the attic. "They were in my flat, Jamie. Left a box, a note. They're not letting me walk away. I'm going to Lillian's again. She knows something." "Don't," he said, sharp. "I'm sending a car. You stay put until we check her place." "And Adele? Don't trust anyone." "Not yet." She hung up, her blood hot. "Stay put? Not a chance." But Jamie was right about one thing, trust. Ethan Ward's face flashed in her mind, his smooth American voice, his too perfect knowledge of the old case. He'd been at the cafe, too close to her trail. And Sarah Clark, the bartender, with her grand's lullaby and that flicker in her eyes. Everyone had secrets, and Adele was tired of being the only one in the dark. She grabbed the letters and headed downstairs, the flat silence pressing against her. The photo of Rose and Clara burned in her pocket. She needed to see Lillian, car or no car. But as she reached for her coat, a knock at the door stopped her cold. Her heart kicked up, the knife from last night still on the counter. She grabbed it, her breath shallow, and peered through the peephole. Sarah stood there, her dark curls damp from the fog, her face pale. Adele opened the door, knife behind her back. Sarah, what are you doing here? How do you know where I live? Sarah's eyes widened, catching the edge in Adele's voice. Easy, Adele. I asked around after the pub. Everyone knows your mum's old place. I needed to see you. About the lullaby. What happened last night? It's got me spooked. Adele lowered the knife but didn't relax. Spooked how? You said it was just a song your gran knew. Sarah shifted, glancing down the street like she expected company. It was. But after the pub I remembered something. Gran said the lullaby wasn't just for sleeping. It was a signal for people who kept secrets by the river. She never explained, but she was scared when she told me. Like it was dangerous. Adele's pulse quickened. A signal. Like the Order of the Crescent? Sarah, you ever hear of someone named Margaret Wentworth? Or anything about an order? Sarah shook her head, but her eyes flickered again, that same guarded look. No. But Gran had this old pendant, a crescent moon. Said it was from her mum. I thought it was just junk, but now. She trailed off, her hands twisting. Adele, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm in this too. Adele wanted to believe her. But trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. All right, she said, stepping back. Come in. But Sarah, if you're holding anything back, now's the time to spill. Sarah nodded, stepping inside, the fog curling in behind her. They sat at the kitchen table, the letters spread out, the photo of Rose and Clara between them. Sarah's eyes lingered on it, but she said nothing. Adele pressed her about the pendant, the lullaby, anything, but Sarah's answers were vague, her nerves raw. The conversation was cut short by another knock, heavier this time. Jamie's voice came through the door. Adele, open up. It's me. She let him in, Sarah shrinking back. Jamie's face was grim, his coat damp. Lillian's gone, he said, no preamble. Her flat's empty, no sign of a struggle, but her car's missing. Neighbor saw her leave last night late. You sure she didn't say anything when you saw her? Adele's stomach dropped. Nothing. She shut me down, told me to let it go. Jamie, she's part of this. The letters, they mention her. Gran called her the keeper of the song. Jamie's eyes narrowed, flicking to Sarah. And you are? Sarah Clark, she said, her voice small. I work at the pub. I know the lullaby too. He grunted, clearly unimpressed. Great. More lullabies. Adele, we're checking Lillian's last knowns, but you need to stay here. With an officer. No more running off. Adele nodded, but her mind was already on the letters, the pendant, Lillian's disappearance. As Jamie left, promising to call with updates, Sarah stood, her face pale. I should go, she said. But Adele, be careful. That song, it's like it's alive. Alone again, Adele opened another letter, her hands cold. It mentioned the Order of the Crescent, a group tied to the Thames, guarding something Rose called the river's debt. Her phone buzzed, a new text. Lillian can't help you now. The river calls. Her breath stopped. She locked the door, the fog pressing against the windows, and felt the Thames watching, its secrets closer than ever. The fog was thicker now, swallowing London's edges until Tottenham felt like a ghost town trapped in a dream. Adele Lori Blue Adkins stood by her mum's kitchen window, the latest text burning in her mind. Lillian can't help you now. The river calls. Her aunt was gone, vanished into the night, and the letters from Rose's chest pointed to secrets too heavy to carry alone. The lullaby, Hush Now My Darling, the Thames Keeps Its Own, was no longer just a song. It was a chain, linking her family to murders a century old and new bodies piling up by the river. Adele's hand shook as she clutched a mug of tea, cold now, its steam long gone. She was in too deep, and the Thames was watching. Jamie Thompson had stationed an officer outside her flat, a young bloke with a nervous twitch who kept checking his phone. Protection, Jamie called it, but it felt like a leash. Adele wasn't sitting still. Not with Lillian missing and the killer leaving her messages like love notes. The letters mentioned an old warehouse by the Thames, a place Rose called the Cradle of the Crescent. It was a lead, maybe the only one she had. She needed to go there, but not alone. Sarah Clark, the bartender with her own connection to the lullaby, was her best bet. Sarah had been shaken last night, Her story about her grand's crescent moon pendant too close to Rose's to be coincidence. Adele texted Sarah. Meet me at the pub. Noon. We need to talk. The reply came fast. Okay. Be careful. Adele grabbed her coat, the letters tucked in her bag, and slipped out the back door, dodging the officer. The fog muffled her steps, the air damp and heavy with the smell of river silt. She felt eyes on her, the same prickling sense that had followed her since the alley. The killer was close, their text proof of that, but she wasn't running. Not anymore. The pub was quiet, its lunchtime crowd thin. Sarah was behind the bar, wiping glasses, her dark curls tied back but her face pale. She spotted Adele and nodded toward a corner booth. You look like hell, Sarah said, sliding into the seat across from her. What's going on, Adele? That text you sent, it's about the lullaby, isn't it? Adele leaned forward, her voice low. Sarah, my aunt's gone. Lillian. She knew about the murders, the old ones. I found letters from my gran. They mention a warehouse, something called the Order of the Crescent. Your grand's pendant, the lullaby, it's all connected. I need to check this place out, and I need you with me. Sarah's eyes widened, her hands twisting the rag she still held. Adele, I'm just a bartender. I don't know anything about warehouses or orders. My grand's stories, they were just stories. Why me? Because you're in this, Adele said, sharper than she meant. Your gran knew the lullaby had that pendant. You saw what happened here, the blood, the flower. You're not out of it, Sarah. None of us are. Sarah swallowed, her gaze flicking to the bar, then back. All right. But if we're doing this, we're careful. I've got a bad feeling, Adele. They left the pub, the fog thicker now, turning streetlights into smudges of gold. The warehouse was in Wapping, a grim stretch of the Thames where old docks rotted into the water. Adele's phone stayed silent, no new texts, but the quiet felt worse, like the calm before a storm. Sarah drove, her beat-up hatchback rattling through narrow streets. Adele clutched the letters, rereading Rose's words. The cradle holds the river's debt. Guard it or it wakes. Whatever that debt was, it was tied to the murders, and Adele was walking straight into it. The warehouse loomed ahead, its brick walls scarred by time, windows boarded or shattered. The air smelled of rust and algae, the Thames lapping nearby like it was listening. Adele and Sarah slipped through a broken gate, their footsteps loud in the stillness. Inside, the warehouse was a cavern of shadows, dust motes dancing in the slivers of light. Crates were stacked high, some split open, spilling papers and rusted tools. Adele's flashlight beam swept the space, catching a symbol carved into a beam. A crescent moon. Her heart skipped. Sarah, look, she whispered, pointing. Same as the others. Gran was here. Sarah nodded, her face tight. This place gives me the creeps. Let's find what we're looking for and get out. They moved deeper, the air growing colder, the lullaby humming in Adele's mind. She found a metal box half buried under debris, its lid etched with the same moon. Her hands shook as she pried it open, revealing a ledger, its pages brittle but legible. Names, dates, payments, all tied to the Order of the Crescent. Margaret Wentworth's name was there, marked paid in blood. Adele's stomach twisted. This was no ordinary group. They were covering something, maybe the murders themselves. Sarah gasped, her flashlight landing on a wall. Photos pinned like a shrine. Old ones from Rose's time and new ones. The pub victim, her face smiling in a candid shot. Another woman, unfamiliar, but with a white flower tucked in her hair. And Adele, a grainy photo from the cafe, her hand on the journal. Adele, Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. They've been watching you. Before Adele could answer, a noise echoed, a crate shifting in the dark. They froze, flashlights darting. Footsteps slow, deliberate. Adele grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her behind a stack of boxes. The lullaby started, hummed low, its notes curling through the warehouse like smoke. Adele's blood ran cold. The killer was here. They crouched, barely breathing as the footsteps circled closer. A shadow passed, tall, hooded, their breath a rasp. Adele's hand tightened on the ledger, her only proof. She whispered to Sarah, "We need to move. Now." They crept toward the exit, the fog outside a faint glow through broken windows. The humming stopped, replaced by a low chuckle, chilling in its calm. "Adele," a voice called, soft, almost tender. "You can't hide from the river." They ran, bursting into the fog, the warehouse's walls fading behind them. Sarah's car was a lifeline, and they peeled away, Adele's heart pounding. Back at the pub, they locked the door, the ledger between them. Sarah was shaking, her voice raw. Adele, that was her. The victim from the pub. I recognized her in the photo. She was my friend, Lucy. Adele's throat tightened. Sarah, I'm sorry. But this ledger, it's proof. The order, the murders, it's all here. We need Jamie. She called him, her voice steady despite the fear. Jamie, it's Adele. I've got something. A ledger from a warehouse in Wapping. Names, dates, the order of the crescent. And photos, Jamie. They're watching me. His voice was tight, angry. Adele, you went where? Damn it, you're gonna get yourself killed. Stay there. I'm coming. As she hung up, Sarah grabbed her arm, her eyes wide. Adele, there's something else. That ledger, I saw another name. Clara. Same as the woman in your grand's photo. Adele's breath stopped. Clara, tied to Rose, to the order, to everything. Her phone buzzed, a new text. The cradle's awake. You woke it. The fog pressed against the pub's windows, and Adele felt the Thames pull, its whispers louder than ever. The pub's dim lights flickered, casting shadows that danced like ghosts across the walls. Adele Laurie Blue Atkins sat in the corner booth, the ledger from the Wapping warehouse open before her. Its pages a map of secrets she couldn't unsee. Names, dates, payments, all tied to the Order of the Crescent, a shadow group her grandmother Rose had been part of. Margaret Wentworth's name, marked paid in blood, stared back, a century-old wound bleeding into the present. Sarah Clark sat across from her, her face pale, her hands still trembling from their escape. The lullaby, Hush Now My Darling, the Thames Keeps Its Own, hummed in Adele's mind, its notes a tether to the killer who'd chased them through the fog. That text, The Cradle's Awake. You woke it, was a knife in her gut. She'd stirred something and it wasn't letting go. Sarah broke the silence, her voice low. Adele, that name, Clara, in the ledger. You think it's the same Clara from your grand's photo? The one by the Thames? Adele nodded, her throat tight. Has to be. Gran wrote about her, called her a keeper of the crescent. Whatever that order was, Clara was deep in it. And so was Gran. She flipped to the photo in her bag, Rose and Clara standing stiffly, the river behind them. Clara's stern face, her hand on a book, felt like a warning. Sarah, your Gran's pendant, the crescent moon. You sure she never mentioned an order? Anything? Sarah shook her head, her curls catching the light. Nothing. Just the lullaby and that pendant. She'd get this look though, like she was scared to say more. I thought it was old age, you know? But now. She trailed off, her eyes on the ledger. Lucy's dead, Adele. My friend. And her photo was in that warehouse. What if I'm next? Adele reached across, squeezing Sarah's hand. You're not. We're in this together, yeah? But we need to be smart. Jamie's on his way. This ledger, it's proof. We'll figure it out. The door swung open, Jamie Thompson striding in, his coat damp from the fog. His face was all hard lines, his eyes flicking between them. Adele, you've got a death wish, he said, sliding into the booth. Wapping? Alone? You're lucky you're breathing. Wasn't alone, Adele said, nodding at Sarah. And we found this. She pushed the ledger toward him, her voice steady. Names, Jamie. Margaret Wentworth, Clara, others. The Order of the Crescent. It's tied to the old murders and the new ones. They've got photos of me, of Lucy, the pub victim. They're watching. Jamie's jaw tightened as he flipped through the ledger, his fingers pausing on Lucy's name. This is big, Adele. Too big for you to be playing detective. You should have called me first. Called you? Adele's voice rose sharp. Jamie, you told me to stay put. Meanwhile, Lillian's gone, the killer's texting me, and my grand's letters say she was part of this. I'm not sitting on my hands. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. Fair point. But you're reckless and it's gonna get you hurt. Or her. He nodded at Sarah, who shrank slightly. I'm taking this to the station. Forensics'll go over it. And Adele, you're under protection now, proper. No more slipping out. Adele wanted to argue, but the weight of the night stopped her. Fine. But Jamie, check on Lillian. She's the key. Gran called her the keeper of the song. She knows something and now she's missing. Jamie nodded, pocketing the ledger. We're looking. Her car's been spotted near Greenwich but no sign of her. Stay here, both of you, until my officer's back. He left, the door banging shut, the fog swallowing him. Sarah exhaled, her voice shaky. Adele, I'm scared. Lucy, the warehouse, that humming. It's like the river's alive, picking us off. Adele's chest ached, but she forced a smile. We're tougher than the river, Sarah. Stick with me, yeah. Sarah nodded, but her eyes were distant, haunted. Alone again, Adele's thoughts turned to Ethan Ward, the journalist who knew too much. His face at the cafe, his talk of the old case, it nagged at her. She'd seen him yesterday, lingering near the pub before the gig. Was he just chasing a story or something more? She texted him, need to talk. About the order. Meet me at the cafe tomorrow noon. His reply was instant. I'm in. Be careful, Adele. Too smooth, too quick. Her gut twisted. The next morning, she dodged the officer again, leaving a note for Sarah to meet her later. The cafe was busy, all clinking cups and murmured chatter. Ethan was already there, his gray coat draped over the chair, his eyes sharp as she approached. Adele, he said, his American drawl warm but guarded. You look like you've seen a ghost. More than one, she said, sitting. Ethan, no games. You knew about the lullaby, the old murders. What do you know about the Order of the Crescent? His smile faltered just a fraction. Getting right to it, huh? All right. My great-grandfather, the cop, he wrote about the order in his notes. A secret group tied to the Thames. They weren't just bystanders, Adele. They covered up the murders, maybe even chose the victims. Your gran, Rose, she was one of them. Adele's blood ran cold. You're saying my gran was a killer? Not a killer, Ethan said, leaning closer. A keeper. The order had roles. Some guarded secrets, some paid the price. Rose was protecting something or someone. That's why the lullaby matters. It's their signal. She wanted to slap him, to call him a liar, but his words fit too well. The letters, the ledger, Clara's stern face. Why should I trust you, Ethan? You're always there, always knowing too much. You following me? He held her gaze, unflinching. I'm following the story. But yeah, I'm watching you. You're the key, Adele. The killer thinks so too. He slid a photo across the table, old grainy. Lillian Young standing with Rose, a crescent moon pendant around her neck. Found this in my great-grandfather's files. Your aunt's not just missing. She's running. Adele's breath stopped. Lillian, part of the order just like Rose. She grabbed the photo, her hands shaking. Where'd you get this, Ethan? And don't lie to me. Old police archives, he said, his voice steady. Adele, I'm on your side. But you're stirring up something dangerous. The order's not gone. They're still out there, and they don't like loose ends. She stood, the photo in her hand, her mind a storm. I'll find you if I need you, she said, and left, the cafe's noise fading behind her. Outside the fog was thinner, but the air felt heavier. She called Jamie, her voice tight. Jamie, it's Adele. Found a photo of Lillian with Gran, wearing a crescent pendant. Ethan Ward gave it to me. Says she's running, part of the order. Jamie's voice was sharp. Ward again? Adele, stay away from him. We're digging into Lillian's trail, but you need to stop running off. Where are you? Camden, she lied, already heading for the Thames. The river called, its secrets louder now. Her phone buzzed, a new text. The keeper's silence won't save you. The river sees. Adele's heart pounded, the lullaby's notes drowning out the city, pulling her deeper into the fog. The Thames was a mirror of the night, its surface black and restless, reflecting London's sleepless glow. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins stood on the embankment, the fog a thin veil now, curling around her like a whisper. The photo of Lillian and Rose, crescent pendants glinting, burned in her pocket. Ethan Ward's words echoed. Your aunt's not just missing. She's running. The lullaby, hush now my darling, the Thames keeps its own, was a pulse in her veins, tying her to a killer who left texts like taunts. The latest, the keeper's silence won't save you. The river seas had come an hour ago, and it drove her here to the river's edge, chasing a clue she couldn't name. The ledger, the letters, the order of the crescent, they all pointed to the Thames, and Adele was done waiting for answers to find her. She'd slipped past Jamie Thompson's officer again, a trick she was getting too good at. Jamie would be furious, but his warnings couldn't stop her. The river was calling, its secrets buried in Rose's cryptic notes. One letter mentioned a ritual by the Thames, a cleansing tied to the order, marked by a crescent moon. Adele's boots crunched on wet gravel as she walked, her flashlight sweeping the bank. The air smelled of silt and decay. The cities hummed distant behind her. She was alone, or so she thought, her breath puffing in the cold, her heart loud in her chest. The embankment was quiet, just the lapping water and the occasional drunk stumbling home. Adele's eyes caught a glint in the stone wall low near the tide line. She crouched, her fingers brushing cold rock, and found it. A crescent moon carved deep, its edges worn but unmistakable. Her pulse quickened. Rose had marked this spot, or someone had, a century ago. She pulled out her phone, snapping a photo when a sound stopped her. A hum, soft, deliberate. The lullaby. Her blood froze. She spun, flashlight darting, but the fog swallowed everything beyond a few feet. "Who's there?" she called, her voice sharper than she felt. No answer, just the hum growing louder, closer. She backed up, her boots slipping on slick stone, and saw it. A symbol painted on the ground, fresh red, a crescent moon circled by thorns. Blood or paint meant to look like it. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't old. This was now. She fumbled for her phone, ready to call Jamie, when a shadow moved in the fog. Tall, hooded, their steps silent but deliberate. Adele's heart slammed against her ribs. She ran, the flashlight bouncing, the hum chasing her like a ghost. The embankment stretched endless, its light smudged by fog. She ducked behind a bench, crouching low, her breath shallow. The hum stopped, replaced by a low chuckle, chilling in its calm. "Adele," a voice said, soft, almost tender. "The river's waiting." She didn't wait to hear more. She bolted, her boots pounding, until she reached a busier street. The fog thinner, cars honking. The hum was gone, but her hands shook as she dialed Jamie. "Jamie, it's Adele," she gasped, her voice raw. "I'm by the embankment. Found another crescent moon, fresh paint, blood or something. Someone was here, humming the lullaby. They knew my name." His voice was a storm. "Adele, what the hell? I told you to stay put. Where are you exactly?" "I'm sending a car. Near Waterloo Bridge," she said, scanning the street. No shadows, no hoods, but the weight of eyes lingered. "Jamie, this isn't random. They're leaving signs for me." "Stay there," he snapped. "And for God's sake, stop running off." He hung up, and Adele leaned against a lamppost, her legs jelly. The photo of Lillian and Rose felt heavier now, a clue she couldn't crack. She needed Sarah, someone to ground her, but Sarah hadn't answered her last text. Adele's gut twisted. Was Sarah okay? Or was she another loose end the order didn't want? Back at the pub, Sarah was behind the bar, her face pale but her hand steady as she poured a pint. She spotted Adele and frowned. "Adele, you look like you've been through it. What happened?" Adele slid into a stool, her voice low. "Sarah, I was by the Thames. Found another crescent moon, fresh, with some kind of ritual mark. The killer was there, humming. They said my name." She pulled out the photo, sliding it across the bar. "This. Lillian and Gran, part of the order. Your Gran's pendant, it's the same moon." "Sarah, what else do you know?" Sarah's eyes widened, her fingers brushing the photo. "Adele, I swear I don't know anything else. My Gran never talked about an order. Just the lullaby, the pendant. But..." She hesitated, her voice dropping. "Lucy, my friend, the one who died here. She had a mark on her under her shirt. A crescent moon tattooed. I didn't think it mattered, but now." Adele's breath caught. "Sarah, why didn't you say this before?" "I was scared," Sarah said, her eyes wet. "Lucy's gone, and I'm mixed up in this. I didn't know it was important until you showed me this." She pushed the photo back, her hands shaking. "Adele, what if they're after me too?" Adele grabbed her hand, her voice firm. "They won't get you. But we need to tell Jamie about the tattoo. It's another link." She called Jamie again, relaying Sarah's story. His voice was grim, promising to check Lucy's autopsy report. As she hung up, the pub's door opened and Ethan Ward walked in, his gray coat damp, his eyes locking on Adele like he'd been expecting her. "Adele," he said, sliding into a stool beside her. "Heard about the embankment. You're stirring up trouble." She bristled, her guard up. "Ethan, how do you know where I was? You following me again?" He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. London talks, Adele. And you're loud. That crescent moon you found? It's not just a mark. It's a call. The Order used it to summon their own back in the day. You're waking something old. Sarah shifted, uneasy, but Adele held Ethan's gaze. And you're always there, Ethan, with your stories. If you know so much, why not go to Jamie? Why me? Because you're the key, he said, his voice low. The lullaby, your Gran Lillian. It's all about you. And the killer knows it. He leaned closer, his breath warm. Check the river at midnight, Adele. That's when the Order met. You'll find more. She wanted to trust him, but his charm felt like a trap. I'll think about it, she said, standing. Sarah, let's go. They left Ethan at the bar, his eyes following them into the night. Back at her flat, Adele locked the door, Sarah crashing on the couch. The photo, the lullaby, the river's call, it was all closing in. Her phone buzzed, a new text. Midnight sings your name. Listen. The Thames waited, its secrets ready to surface, and Adele felt its pull, stronger than ever. The Thames was a restless beast at midnight, its waters churning under a moonless sky. Adele Lori Blue Adkins stood in her mum's flat, the photo of Rose and Lillian trembling in her hands. The crescent moon pendants around their necks glinted in the lamplight, a silent accusation. Ethan Ward's words from the pub echoed. Check the river at midnight. That's when the Order met. She hadn't gone, not after the embankment, not after the killer's voice calling her name through the fog. The lullaby, hush now my darling, the Thames keeps its own, was a noose tightening around her. The latest text, midnight sings your name. Listen, had come hours ago, and it left her raw, unable to sleep. Sarah Clark slept on the couch, her breathing uneven, haunted by her friend Lucy's death, and the crescent tattoo that linked her to the Order of the Crescent. Adele's phone buzzed, a call from Jamie Thompson. She answered, her voice low to avoid waking Sarah. Jamie, tell me you've got something. Lillian, the ledger, anything. His voice was rough, like he hadn't slept either. Adele, the autopsy on Lucy confirmed it. Crescent moon tattoo, hidden under her arm. Matches the old case files, victims marked by the Order. And Lillian's car, we found it in Greenwich, abandoned. No sign of her, but there was blood on the seat. Not much, but we're testing it. Adele's stomach dropped. Blood? Jamie, she's alive, right? She has to be. We don't know, he said, softer now. But Adele, that ledger you gave me, it's a gold mine. Names, payments, dates going back to 1922. Your Gran Rose, she wasn't just involved. She was covering for someone. Maybe Clara, maybe others. The Order wasn't a club. It was a pact, and it's still active. Adele's grip tightened on the phone. Jamie, I found a photo. Gran and Lillian, both wearing crescent pendants. Ethan says Lillian's running, that she's part of it. And he knew about the embankment, Jamie. How's he always one step ahead? Jamie's voice hardened. Ward's a problem. We're looking into him, but Adele, you need to stay put. No more chasing leads. The killer's targeting you and I... He paused, his voice cracking. I lost someone to this case years ago. My sister, Elise. She was digging into the old murders, got too close. I can't lose you too. Adele's breath caught. Jamie, all gruff edges, had a wound that matched hers. Jamie, I'm sorry. But I can't stop. The killer's in my head, in my flat. They left that piano key, the text. I'm not safe anywhere. Then let me protect you, he said, almost pleading. Stay with Sarah, keep the officer outside. I'm coming by tomorrow. We'll go through the ledger together. She agreed, but her mind was already elsewhere. Jamie's pain, Sarah's fear, Ethan's slippery truths, they were all pieces of a puzzle her grandmother had built. She hung up, her eyes on the letters from Rose's chest. One half-read mentioned a debt the Order owed, tied to a name. Margaret Wentworth. Adele opened it again, her hands cold. Margaret knew too much. The lullaby marked her, and we let her die. Rose's guilt was raw, bleeding through the ink. Adele's heart pounded. Her grandmother hadn't just known about the murders. She'd helped hide them. A creak from the living room snapped her out of it. Sarah was up, rubbing her eyes, her voice thick. Adele, you're still awake? It's late. Couldn't sleep, Adele said, forcing a smile. Sarah, Jamie found blood in Lillian's car. And Lucy's tattoo, it's real. The Order marked her like the old victims. Your grand's pendant, it's the same mark. We're close to something, but it's dangerous. Sarah's face paled, her hands twisting. Adele, I keep thinking about Lucy. She was my friend and I didn't know she was in this. What if I'm marked too? Adele stood, pulling Sarah into a hug. You're not. But we need to be careful. Stay here, yeah? We'll figure it out with Jamie. Sarah nodded, but her eyes were distant, haunted by ghosts Adele couldn't see. Morning came, gray and heavy. Adele met Ethan at the cafe, against Jamie's advice, her need for answers outweighing her caution. He was there, his gray coat damp, his smile too smooth. Adele, he said, leaning forward. You didn't go to the river last night. Smart. But you're still in deep. She bristled, her voice sharp. Ethan, enough games. You knew about Lillian, the order, the crescent marks. What else? And don't lie, or I'm done with you. His eyes flickered, but he held her gaze. All right. The order wasn't just a cover-up. They chose victims, Adele, to settle a debt. Your gran Rose, she was their scribe keeping the records. Lillian took over when Rose died. That's why she's running. She knows who the killer is. Adele's blood ran cold. You're saying Lillian's protecting a murderer? Not protecting, Ethan said, his voice low. Hiding. The killer's one of them, Adele. And they're using you to finish what started a century ago. He slid a folder across the table, old police reports, one with a name circled. Adele Atkins. Her name in a file from 1922, tied to a victim's family. She grabbed the folder, her hands shaking. Ethan, this is impossible. I wasn't alive then. What the hell is this? A legacy, he said, standing. The order names its keepers across generations. You're next, Adele. That's why the killer's after you. He left, his words a weight she couldn't shake. Back at the flat, Adele spread the folder's contents across the table, Sarah watching, silent. The report mentioned an Adele, a child in 1922, linked to Margaret Wentworth's family. Her great-grandmother maybe, but the name chilled her. The lullaby, the text, the piano key, they weren't random. They were a call and she was answering it. Her phone buzzed, a new text. The debt is yours now. Pay it or the river will. Adele's breath stopped. She locked the door, the Thames whispers loud in her ears. Sarah's voice broke the silence, trembling. Adele, what do we do? We find Lillian, Adele said, her voice steel. And we end this. The river waited, its secrets rising, and Adele felt its pull, deeper than ever. The air in Adele Laurie Blue Atkins' mum's flat was thick with the weight of secrets, the kind that clung like damp to old walls. She sat at the kitchen table. The police report Ethan Ward had given her spread out like a confession. Her name, Adele Atkins, circled in a 1922 file, tied to Margaret Wentworth's family, stared back, impossible and real. The lullaby, Hush Now My Darling, the Thames keeps its own, was a relentless hum in her mind, its notes weaving through the killer's texts. The latest, the debt is yours now. Pay it or the river will, had come last night, and it left her raw, her hands trembling as she clutched a cold mug of tea. Sarah Clark sat across from her, her eyes red from sleeplessness, haunted by Lucy's death and the crescent moon tattoo that marked her friend as the Order of the Crescent's prey. Adele's phone buzzed, a call from Jamie Thompson. She answered, her voice tight. Jamie, please tell me you've got something. Lillian, the blood in her car, anything. His voice was grim, frayed at the edges. Adele, we've got a lead. Lillian's car had a GPS tracker. Last ping was a dock in Greenwich near an old warehouse. We're raiding it today, but there's more. The blood in the car, it's hers. Not enough to say she's dead, but she's hurt. And Adele, we found a crescent pendant in the trunk. Matches the one in your photo. Adele's stomach twisted. Jamie, she's alive, right? She has to be. The Order, she's part of it. Ethan says she's hiding the killer. A pause, then Jamie's voice hardened. Ward's feeding you stories, Adele. We're digging into him, but you need to stay away. You're at the flat. Yeah, she lied, her eyes on the report. She'd slipped out to meet Ethan yesterday, and Jamie didn't need to know she was planning to move again. Jamie, that report Ethan gave me, it's got my name from 1922. A kit tied to the Wentworths. What's that mean? Means he's playing you, Jamie snapped. Old files get messy, names repeat. Don't let him in your head. Stay put, Adele. I'll call after the raid. He hung up, leaving her with more questions than answers. Sarah leaned forward, her voice shaky. Adele, you think Lillian's really hiding the killer? Your own aunt. Adele's jaw tightened. I don't know, Sarah. But she's been lying, dodging me since I got here. Gran called her the keeper of the song. She knows something and now she's gone. She stood, pacing, the report's words burning. A child named Adele, a debt the order owed. Ethan's claim that she was the next keeper felt like a noose, but Jamie's dismissal didn't fit either. The truth was somewhere in the fog, and she needed to find it. A knock at the door made them both jump. Adele grabbed the knife from the counter, her heart pounding, and peered through the peephole. Lillian stood there, her gray hair wild, her face pale, a bandage on her hand. Adele's breath caught. She opened the door, knife still in hand. Lillian, where the hell have you been? Jamie's tearing Greenwich apart looking for you. Lillian's eyes were sharp, but her voice trembled. Adele, let me in. We need to talk. Now. Sarah stood, wary as Adele stepped aside. Lillian sank into a chair, her hands shaking. I didn't run, she said, her voice low. I was taken. Someone grabbed me outside my flat, knocked me out. Woke up in a warehouse tied up. They wanted the lullaby, Adele. The full version. I got away, but they're still out there. Adele's grip tightened on the knife. Who, Lillian? The killer? The order? And don't lie to me. Gran's letters, the ledger, they say you're the keeper. What's the truth? Lishan's eyes flickered, a crack in her armor. The order was real, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Rose was part of it, and so was I when I was young. We guarded the river's debt. A promise made after the first murders. Margaret Wentworth, she wasn't just a victim. She was one of us, betrayed. The lullaby marks the keepers and the killers. I tried to leave, Adele, but you can't. Not when the river calls. Adele's blood ran cold. And me? My name's in a file, Lillian. 100 years ago. Why? Lillian's face crumpled. Because you're Rose's blood. The order names its keepers before they're born. You were always meant to carry it, Adele. I tried to protect you, keep you away. But the killer knows. They want you to pay the debt. Adele stepped back, her voice sharp. Pay it how? By dying? Lillian, who's doing this? I don't know, Lillian said, her eyes wet. I never saw their face. But they're close, Adele. Too close. She stood, swaying, and Adele caught her, the knife clattering to the floor. Sarah rushed over, helping Lillian to the couch. Adele's phone buzzed, a text from Jamie. Warehouse raids a bust. No Lillian, but we found a body. Fresh. White flower. Stay safe. Her heart stopped. Another murder while Lillian sat here, claiming she'd escaped. Was it true, or was her aunt playing her? Sarah's voice broke the silence, trembling. Adele, we need to get her to Jamie. But what if she's lying? Adele nodded, her mind racing. We will. But first I need more. She turned to Lillian, her voice steel. The full lullaby, Lillian. Sing it. Now. Lillian hesitated, then sang, her voice cracked but clear. Hush now, my darling, the Thames keeps its own. Sleep where the shadows and secrets are sown. Moonlight will guide you through blood and through stone. Pay what is owed or you'll never go home. The final verse, new to Adele, was a blade in her chest. A debt, a payment, her name tied to it all. Before Adele could press further, a crash came from the back door. Sarah screamed and Adele spun, grabbing the knife. A figure burst in, hooded, a knife glinting in their hand. Adele shoved Sarah behind her, her voice a roar. Get back! The figure lunged, aiming for Sarah, but Adele swung the knife, catching their arm. They hissed, dropping the blade, and fled into the night, their hood falling just enough to show a glimpse of a face, too brief to know. Lillian was on the floor, gasping, her bandage torn. Adele knelt, her hands shaking. Lillian, you okay? Sarah, call Jamie. Sarah fumbled for her phone, her voice frantic as she dialed. Adele's eyes locked on the dropped knife. A crescent moon etched on its handle. Her phone buzzed, a new text. You can't protect them all. The river waits. The lullaby's notes drowned out the chaos, pulling her deeper into the Thames' dark heart. The flat was a battlefield, its air sharp with the tang of fear and blood. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins knelt beside her Aunt Lillian, whose bandage was soaked red, her face pale as the moonlight spilling through the window. The knife with the crescent moon etching lay on the floor. dropped by the hooded figure who'd lunged for Sarah Clark moments ago. Sarah stood frozen, phone clutched tight, Jamie Thompson's voice crackling through as she relayed the attack. The lullaby, "Hush now, my darling, the Thames keeps its own," was a relentless echo in Adele's mind. Its new verse, "Pay what is owed or you'll never go home," a weight she couldn't shake. The latest text, "You can't protect them all." The river weights burned in her pocket, proof the killer was steps ahead. Their face a fleeting shadow she couldn't place. Adele's hand shook as she pressed a towel to Lillian's wound, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Lillian, hold on. Jamie's coming. You're gonna be okay." Lillian's eyes fluttered, her breath shallow, but she nodded, her hand gripping Adele's like a lifeline. Sarah hung up, her voice trembling. "Adele, Jamie's on his way. He's bringing medics. But that knife, the moon. It's them, isn't it? The order." Adele nodded, her jaw tight. "Yeah. And they're not done." She glanced at the knife, its crescent glinting under the lamp. The same mark as the pendants, the carvings, the tattoo on Lucy's body. The order of the crescent was no ghost story. It was here, bleeding into her life, and Lillian's half-truths weren't enough anymore. Police sirens wailed outside, cutting through the night. Jamie burst in, his coat damp, his face a storm of worry and rage. "Adele, what the hell happened?" he barked, kneeling beside Lillian as medics rushed in, their kits clattering. "You all right?" "Sarah." "We're fine," Adele said, standing, her hands sticky with blood. "But Lillian's hurt. Someone broke in, hooded, went for Sarah. I fought them off, but they got away. Left that." She pointed at the knife, her voice hard. "Jamie, it's the killer. And Lillian knows more than she's saying." Jamie's eyes narrowed, flicking to Lillian, now on a stretcher, medics stabilizing her. "She's going to hospital. We'll talk to her there. Adele, you and Sarah, you're with me. No more flats, no more running off. This is out of control." Adele wanted to argue, but the blood on her hands stopped her. She grabbed her bag, the photo of Rose and Lillian tucked inside, and followed Jamie to his car, Sarah close behind. The station was a blur of fluorescent lights and coffee-stained desks, the knife now in an evidence bag. Jamie sat them down, his voice low. "Adele, that knife's a match for the murder weapons. Same etching, same steel. But there's something else. We found a file buried deep about the order. It mentions a betrayal 1922. Margaret Wentworth wasn't just a victim. She was set up by someone inside." Adele's breath caught. "By Rose?" Lillian said Margaret was one of them, betrayed. "Jamie, my name's in those files, a kid back then. Ethan says I'm the next keeper." "What's that mean?" Jamie rubbed his neck, his eyes tired. "Means the order's got a long memory. Your gran Rose, she wasn't a killer, but she hid the truth. Lillian too. And now you're caught in it." "But Ethan Ward, Adele, he's not clean. His great-grandfather wasn't just a cop. He was ordered too, and Ethan's been digging where he shouldn't. He's gone, by the way. Vanished last night. No trace." Adele's stomach dropped. "Vanished?" "Jamie, he gave me that report, knew about Lillian, the river. You think he's the killer?" "Don't know," Jamie said, his voice grim. "But he's a piece of this and we're looking. For now you two stay here. I'm checking on Lillian." He left, his footsteps heavy, leaving Adele and Sarah in the sterile quiet. Sarah's voice was small, her hands twisting. "Adele, Ethan's gone? What if he's out there waiting? And Lillian, she sang that verse about paying the debt. What if it's us?" Adele's chest ached, but she forced calm. "Sarah, we're not paying anything. The order, the killer, they're trying to scare us. But we've got Jamie, the ledger, the knife. We're close." She didn't believe it, not fully, but Sarah needed her steady. A rookie cop brought them tea, his eyes lingering on Adele like she was a celebrity, not a target. She ignored him, her mind on Ethan. His charm, his too-perfect knowledge, his disappearance. Was he running like Lillian, or was he the shadow in the hood? The report he'd given her, her name circled, felt like a trap now, but it was real. A child named Adele tied to Margaret Wentworth, to a debt unpaid. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Another body found at dawn near Tower Bridge. Throat slashed, white flower, lullaby hummed by a witness who'd fled. Adele's blood ran cold. The killer hadn't stopped, even after the attack. She showed Sarah, whose face crumpled. "Adele, it's not stopping. Lucy, now this. What if I'm next?" "You're not." Adele said, her voice fierce. But we need Lillian to talk. She's the last piece. She stood pacing, the station's hum fading. Jamie returned, his face darker than before. Lillian's stable, he said, sitting. But she's not talking, not yet. And Adele, there's a problem. One of my team, a detective, he's been leaking case details. Found his prints on a burner phone, same kind sending your texts. He's in custody, but he swears he's not the killer. Says he was paid by someone in the order. Adele's heart pounded. A mole? Jamie, who's paying him? Ethan. Lillian. We're digging, Jamie said, his eyes hard. But Adele, this goes deep. The order's not just history. It's now, and you're in the middle. He paused, his voice softer. My sister Elise, she died because I didn't see it coming. I'm not letting that happen to you. Adele nodded, her throat tight. Jamie's pain was a mirror, but she couldn't stop. Not with Sarah trembling, Lillian hiding, Ethan gone. She pulled out the photo, Rose and Lillian's pendants glinting. Jamie, we need to find the order's base. The warehouse in Greenwich, the one you raided. Take me there. If Lillian was held there, there's more. Jamie's jaw clenched. Adele, it's a crime scene. And you're a target. I'm already a target, she snapped, her voice steel. The killer's not waiting, Jamie. Neither can we. He relented, grudgingly, promising to take her tomorrow. Sarah stayed behind, under guard, her eyes pleading as Adele left with Jamie. Outside, the Thames was a dark vein through the city, its whispers loud. Adele's phone buzzed, a new text. Betrayal cuts deepest. Ask Sarah about Lucy. Her breath stopped, the lullaby's notes drowning out the night, pulling her toward a truth she wasn't ready to face. The Greenwich warehouse loomed like a relic of London's forgotten sins, its brick walls scarred by time and the Thames' damp breath. Adele Laurie Blue Atkins stood outside, the fog curling around her boots, her heart pounding under Jamie Thompson's stern gaze. The latest text, betrayal cuts deepest. Ask Sarah about Lucy, burned in her mind, sowing doubt about Sarah Clark, her only ally. The lullaby, hush now my darling, the Thames keeps its own, was a relentless pulse, its final verse, pay what is owed or you'll never go home, a warning she couldn't ignore. Lillian's confession, the Order of the Crescent's dark legacy, and Ethan Ward's disappearance had brought her here, to the warehouse where her aunt had been held, where a new body had been found, white flower and all. The river watched, its secrets close to breaking. Jamie adjusted his coat, his voice low. Adele, this is a bad idea. The raid turned up nothing but that body. The killer's playing us, and you're walking into their game. Adele's jaw tightened, the photo of Rose and Lillian heavy in her pocket. Jamie, I'm already in it. Lillian was here hurt. The order's tied to this place, and that text about Sarah, it's a trap or a truth. Either way, I need to know. She didn't mention the doubt gnawing at her, the fear that Sarah was hiding something about Lucy's death. Jamie sighed, his eyes tired but resolute. Fine. But you stay behind me, yeah? And if I say move, you move. He led her through the police tape, the warehouse's door creaking open to a cavern of shadows. The air was thick with dust and mildew, the floor littered with broken crates. Adele's flashlight swept the space, catching glints of metal and the faint outline of a crescent moon carved into a beam, just like Wapping. Her pulse quickened. This was no coincidence. They moved deeper, Jamie's gun drawn, his steps deliberate. Adele's eyes caught a trapdoor, half hidden under debris. Jamie there, she whispered, pointing. He nodded, prying it open with a grunt, revealing a ladder to a basement. The air below was colder, smelling of iron and rot. Adele's stomach twisted, but she followed, the lullaby humming in her mind, louder now like it was born here. The basement was a shrine to the order. Walls were lined with photos, old and new, names scrawled beside them. Margaret Wentworth, Lucy, others Adele didn't know. A table held a ledger, its pages open to a list of debts paid, each marked with a crescent moon. Adele's name was there, not the child from 1922, but her, Adele Atkins, dated this year. Her breath stopped. Jamie, look. They've marked me. The killer's planning to end this with me. Jamie's face darkened, his voice tight. Adele, we're leaving. Now. But before they could move, a noise echoed above, footsteps deliberate, heavy. Jamie pushed her behind a crate, his gun raised. The lullaby started, hummed low, its notes curling through the basement like smoke. Adele's blood froze. The killer was here. The footsteps stopped, replaced by a voice, soft, chilling. Adele, you found the cradle. But you're too late. A shadow descended the ladder, hooded, their knife glinting with a crescent etching. Jamie fired, the shot deafening, but the figure dodged, faster than human, and lunged. Adele screamed, shoving Jamie aside, the knife grazing her arm, hot pain searing through her. Jamie tackled the figure, their hood falling, revealing a face Adele didn't know. A man, eyes wild, a crescent tattoo on his neck. You can't stop the river, he snarled, twisting free, his knife flashing. Jamie wrestled him down, cuffs snapping on, but the man laughed, a sound that chilled Adele's bones. The order's bigger than me, Adkins. Ask your friend. Ask Sarah. Adele's heart lurched, the text's words slamming back. Jamie hauled the man up, his voice a growl. Shut it. Adele, you okay? She nodded, clutching her arm, blood seeping through her sleeve. The man's words echoed, sowing doubt. Sarah. Lucy. Betrayal. Back at the station, the man was booked, silent now. His identity unknown, but his tattoo a clear mark of the order. Lillian was still in hospital, awake but weak, refusing to talk. Adele sat with Sarah, her arm bandaged, her voice low. Sarah, that man said to ask you about Lucy. The text, it said betrayal. What aren't you telling me? Sarah's face crumpled, her eyes wet. Adele, I swear I didn't know. Lucy, she was mixed up in something. She told me once about a group, people who met by the river. She wanted out, but they wouldn't let her. I thought it was drugs, not this. She sobbed, her hands twisting. I didn't tell you because I was scared. I'm sorry. Adele's chest ached, torn between trust and doubt. Sarah, did you know about the order? The crescent tattoo. No, Sarah said, her voice breaking. But Lucy had that tattoo, and she changed after getting it. Secretive. Adele, I should have said something, but I didn't know it was tied to you. Adele nodded, her throat tight. Sarah's story fit, but the doubt lingered, fed by the killer's taunt. Jamie joined them, his face grim. Adele, the man's not talking, but we've got a lead. The ledger lists a meeting spot. An old dock in Wapping tomorrow night. If the order's still active, they'll be there. We're setting a trap. Adele's pulse quickened. I'm going, Jamie. This ends now. He shook his head, his voice firm. No. You're a target, Adele. My sister died chasing this. I'm not losing you too. I'm not your sister, she said, her voice steel. The killer wants me, Jamie. Use me. Bait whatever. I'm done running. Jamie relented grudgingly, his eyes heavy with worry. That night, Adele stayed at the station, Sarah under guard nearby. She reread the ledger, the lullaby's full truth taking shape. It wasn't just a song. It was a contract binding the order to a cycle of death, a debt paid in blood. Her name marked for this year was a sentence, but she wasn't paying it. Her phone buzzed, a new text. The dock waits. So do I. The Thames whispers were loud, its secrets breaking free. And Adele felt the killer's eyes, closer than ever. The Wapping dock was a skeleton of London's past, its rusted cranes clawing at a sky heavy with clouds. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins stood in the shadows, her breath visible in the cold, her arm still aching from the killer's graze in the warehouse. Jamie Thompson's plan was simple. Use her as bait to draw the Order of the Crescent into a trap. The lullaby, Hush Now My Darling, the Thames Keeps Its Own, was a chain around her heart. Its final verse, Pay what is owed or you'll never go home, a prophecy she refused to fulfill. The latest text, The dock waits. So do I, had come an hour ago, proof the killer was here watching. Sarah Clark was safe at the station. Her confession about Lucy's ties to the Order, a wound Adele couldn't heal. Lillian, stable but silent in hospital, held the last pieces of Rose's truth, and Adele was done waiting. Jamie crouched beside her, his gun ready, his voice a low growl. Adele, you sure about this? Once you step out, there's no going back. My team's in position, but if this goes south, it's on you. Her jaw tightened, the photo of Rose and Lillian heavy in her pocket. Jamie, they've got my name, my blood. I'm ending this. She didn't mention the doubt still gnawing at her, Sarah's half-truths, or Ethan Ward's disappearance. The killer's face, glimpsed in the warehouse, haunted her, a stranger with a crescent tattoo. But his words, Ask Sarah, echoed louder than the Thames whispers. Jamie nodded, his eyes hard but warm. All right. Walk to the dock's edge slow. We've got eyes on you. Any sign of the order, we move. He squeezed her shoulder, a rare softness, then slipped into the dark, joining his hidden team. Adele stepped onto the dock, her boots echoing on warped wood. The Thames a black mirror below. The air smelled of salt and decay, the river's pulse matching her own. She felt exposed, a target painted on her back, but fear was fuel now. The ledger's list, her name marked for this year, was a death sentence she'd rewrite. She stopped at the edge, the water lapping, and called out, her voice steady. I'm here. You want me, show yourself. Silence, then a hum soft, chilling. The lullaby coming from the shadows. Adele's heart pounded, her flashlight sweeping the dock. A figure emerged, hooded, their knife glinting with a crescent etching. Not the man from the warehouse, someone knew, their steps deliberate. Adele, they said, voice low, female, familiar in a way that chilled her. You carry the debt. Rose's sin, Lillian's silence. It ends tonight. Adele's blood ran cold, but she held her ground. Who are you? Why me? If it's the order, tell me what they want. The figure stepped closer, their hood slipping, revealing a face Adele knew. Clara's descendant, a woman from the old photos, now in her 50s, eyes wild with purpose. I'm Emma, keeper of the crescent, she said, her voice ablade. Your grandmother betrayed Margaret Wentworth. Let her die to hide the order's truth. The lullaby marks the debt, and you're the last to pay. Adele's mind raced, pieces snapping together. Margaret was order, not just a victim. Rose covered it up, but why kill now? Why me? Emma's smile was cold. Because you woke the river, Adele. Your name, your blood, it's the final verse. The order cleanses its sins through you. She raised the knife, but before she could move, Jamie's team surged from the dark, shouts and flashlights blinding. Emma spun, slashing wildly, catching an officer's arm. Adele dove behind a crate, her heart hammering as Jamie tackled Emma, cuffs snapping on her wrists. You can't stop it. Emma screamed, her eyes locked on Adele. The order lives. The river demands. Jamie hauled her away, her voice fading into the night. Adele stood, trembling, the lullaby's hum still ringing in her ears. Jamie returned, his face grim but relieved. Adele, you're okay. She's in custody. But she's not alone. The order's bigger, and they're not done. Adele nodded, her throat tight. Jamie, she said, Rose betrayed Margaret. Lillian knew, hid it. I need to see her now. Jamie agreed, driving her to the hospital, the Thames a dark ribbon beside them. Lillian was awake, her face pale, her eyes heavy with guilt. Adele sat beside her, the photo in her hand, her voice low. Lillian, no more lies. Emma, the killer, she said, Rose betrayed Margaret. You're the keeper. What's the truth? Lillian's breath hitched, her voice a whisper. Adele, I tried to protect you. Rose loved Margaret, but the order demanded a sacrifice. Margaret knew too much, threatened to expose us. Rose let her die, wrote the lullaby to bind the guilt. I took her place, kept the secret. But the killer, Emma, she's Margaret's blood, seeking revenge. Adele's chest ached. Rose's sin a weight she carried. And me? Why my name, Lillian? You're the last, Lillian said, tears falling. The order named you to close the cycle. I ran to stop them, but I failed. She gripped Adele's hand, her voice breaking. Forgive me, Adele. I'm done hiding. She slumped, her monitors beeping, nurses rushing in. Adele stepped back, her heart heavy, Lillian's confession a truth she couldn't unhear. Outside, Jamie waited, his voice soft. Adele, we've got Emma, but the order's still out there. And Ethan Ward, we found his car torched, no body. He's either dead or running. Adele's blood ran cold. Ethan, the wild card, still a ghost. Jamie, Emma said the order lives. What if she wasn't alone? Her phone buzzed, a new text. The river's not done. Neither am I. Her breath stopped, the lullaby's notes louder, pulling her deeper. Jamie's radio crackled. A report of another crescent mark fresh by the Thames. The trap had caught one killer. But another waited, and Adele felt the river's eyes, unblinking in the dark. The Thames was a living shadow, its waters whispering secrets under a sky bruised with clouds. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins stood by its banks near Wapping, the air sharp with salt and the echo of Emma's screams from the dock. Emma, the killer, descendant of Margaret Wentworth, had been cuffed, her crescent-marked knife confiscated. But her words, the order lives, clung to Adele like damp fog. The lullaby, "Hush now my darling, the Thames keeps its own," was a pulse in her veins. Its final verse, "Pay what is owed or you'll never go home," a debt she refused to settle. Lillian's confession, Rose's betrayal of Margaret, and the latest text, "The river's not done. Neither am I," proof the trap had missed someone. Ethan Ward's torched car, empty, and a fresh crescent marked by the river meant the order of the crescent wasn't finished, and neither was the hunt. Jamie Thompson stood beside her, his coat flapping in the wind, his face etched with worry. "Adele, you shouldn't be here. Emma's locked up, but that text, the new mark, it's a taunt. We've got officers sweeping the area. But you're a beacon for this lot." Adele's jaw tightened, the photo of Rose and Lillian heavy in her pocket. "Jamie, Emma wasn't alone. She said the order lives and Ethan's still out there, dead or not. I'm not hiding. The river's calling and I'm answering." Her arm, grazed by Emma's knife, throbbed under its bandage, a reminder of how close she'd come. Jamie's eyes softened, but his voice stayed firm. "You're stubborn as hell, Adele. My sister Elise was too, and it got her killed. I'm begging you, let us handle this." He paused, his radio crackling with updates. No sign of Ethan, no new bodies, just the crescent mark, painted in red, mocking them. Adele shook her head, her voice steel. "Jamie, Rose betrayed Margaret, Lillian hid it, and now I'm marked. This is my fight. Take me to the mark. If the order's here, I'll draw them out." Jamie cursed but nodded, leading her to a narrow alley off the dock, where the crescent glowed wetly on a brick wall, its thorns circling like a noose. Flashbacks hit her, sharp and unbidden. 1922, Rose's journal, her guilt over Margaret's death. She knew too much, threatened the order. "I let her die." Adele saw it now, clear as the river. Rose, young, torn between loyalty and fear, choosing silence. Margaret, betrayed, her throat slashed, a white flower left to mock her. The lullaby, written to bind the guilt, had marked Adele across generations. Her name in the ledger, a curse she hadn't chosen. Jamie's voice cut through. "Adele, you see anything? Tracks anything?" She shook her head, her flashlight sweeping the alley. The mark was fresh, the paint still tacky, but the ground was clean, no footprints, no clues. The lullaby hummed, unbidden, its notes guiding her to a pile of crates, half-rotted, stacked nearby. She pushed one aside, her heart pounding, and found a hidden door, its lock etched with a crescent moon. "Jamie here," she called, her voice low. He joined her, prying the door open, revealing a tunnel, damp and narrow, smelling of river and stone. "This is it," Adele said, her pulse racing. "The order's base or close. They've been under our noses." Jamie's face was grim. "Adele, we need backup. This is too risky." But her eyes were fire, and he knew she wouldn't wait. They descended, flashlights cutting through the dark, the tunnel sloping toward the Thames. The air grew colder, the lullaby louder in Adele's mind, its final verse a warning. At the tunnel's end was a chamber, walls carved with crescents, a table holding a single white flower and a note, addressed to Adele. She grabbed it, her hands shaking, and read. "The final verse is yours. Sing it or Sarah pays." Her breath stopped. Sarah, safe at the station, or so she'd thought. Jamie's radio crackled, an officer's voice frantic. "Clark's gone. Slipped out, no trace." Adele's knees buckled, the text warning real now. Sarah, her ally, her friend, was bait, and Adele had missed it. "Jamie, they've got Sarah," she said, her voice breaking. "The note, it's a trap, but I have to go." Jamie grabbed her arm, his eyes fierce. "You're not going alone," he said, his voice a vow. "We'll find her, Adele, but we do it smart." He called for backup, but Adele's eyes were on the flower, its petals a taunt. The chamber held more photos, old and new, pinned to the walls. Rose, Lillian, Margaret, Lucy, and Sarah, her face smiling in a recent shot, a crescent pendant around her neck. Adele's heart lurched. Sarah had lied, or hidden more than she'd admitted. A noise echoed, footsteps fast from the tunnel. Jamie pushed Adele behind him, gun raised, as a figure emerged, not hooded but familiar. Ethan Ward, his face bruised, his eyes wild. "Adele, stop," he shouted, hands up. "It's not what you think. I'm not the killer. I was taken, same as Lillian." Adele's blood boiled, her voice sharp. "Ethan, you're always there, always knowing. Your car's torched, you're gone, and now you're here? Explain or I swear Jamie'll shoot." Ethan's voice was desperate. Adele, the order grabbed me, wanted my research. My great-grandfather was one of them, yes, but I'm trying to end this. Sarah's not at the station. She's here in Wapping, another chamber. I heard them before I escaped. The killer's with her, Adele. It's not Emma. It's someone else. Jamie's gun didn't waver. Ward, you're coming with us. Move. They followed Ethan's lead back through the tunnel to a second chamber, smaller, its walls slick with river water. Sarah was there, tied to a chair, gagged, her eyes wide with terror. Beside her stood a figure, hooded, their knife at Sarah's throat, a crescent tattoo on their wrist. Adele, the figure said, voice low, male, unfamiliar. Sing the lullaby. Finish the verse. Or she dies. Adele's heart stopped, the lullaby's notes drowning out Jamie's shouted orders. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear, singing the final verse, her eyes locked on Sarah's. The figure hesitated, then laughed, a sound that chilled her bones. You're too late, he said, raising the knife. Jamie fired, the shot deafening, and the figure fell, blood pooling, their hood slipping to reveal a face Adele didn't know. A man mid-40s, his tattoo stark against pale skin. Sarah sobbed as Adele untied her. Jamie securing the scene, backup flooding in. Ethan knelt beside her, his voice soft. Adele, I'm sorry. I tried to warn you. She pushed him away, her trust shattered. Sarah's pendant a betrayal she couldn't unsee. The Thames watched, its whispers quieter now but not gone. The killer was down, but Emma's words lingered. The order lives. And Adele felt a new clue, hidden in the lullaby's echo, waiting to surface. The Wapping chamber was a tomb of secrets, its damp walls echoing with the chaos of the night. Adele Lori Blue Atkins stood over Sarah Clark, her wrists raw from ropes, tears streaking her face. The killer, a man with a crescent tattoo, lay dead, Jamie Thompson's bullet through his chest. The lullaby, Hush Now My Darling, the Thames keeps its own, was a fading hum in Adele's mind, its final verse sung to save Sarah, but the cost was heavy. Ethan Ward's reappearance, his claim of being taken by the Order of the Crescent, and Sarah's hidden pendant, a crescent moon like roses, had shattered Adele's trust. Emma's words, the order lives, and the last text, the river's not done. Neither am I, hinted at an accomplice, a shadow still moving. The Thames watched, its waters restless, holding one last truth. Jamie secured the scene, his voice sharp as he barked orders to his team. Adele, Sarah, out now. This place is a crime scene. His eyes, heavy with relief and fear, lingered on Adele, his sister Elise ghost in the air. Adele helped Sarah stand, her legs shaky, but her own heart was a storm. Sarah's pendant, seen in the chamber's photos, tied her to the order, to Lucy, to lies Adele hadn't seen coming. Outside, the dock was alive with police lights, the Thames a black mirror reflecting their chaos. Adele's arm, grazed by Emma's knife, throbbed, but the pain was nothing to the betrayal cutting deeper. She turned to Sarah, her voice low, hard. Sarah, that pendant. You said it was your grand's, just a trinket. But it's in the order's photos, same as Rose's, Lillian's. You knew more than you told me. Talk. Sarah's eyes widened, her voice trembling. Adele, I swear I didn't know. Lucy gave me the pendant months ago, said it was a gift. She was my friend, but she was scared, always looking over her shoulder. I didn't know it meant anything until the pub, the tattoo. I was afraid to tell you, afraid you'd think I was part of it. Adele's chest ached, torn between anger and pity. Sarah, you hid it. Lucy's tattoo, the pendant, her ties to the order. I trusted you, and now I'm wondering if I should have. Sarah sobbed, but Adele stepped back, her trust fractured, the text warning. Ask Sarah about Lucy, too raw. Jamie joined them, his face grim. Adele, the man's ID came through. Neil Green, Lillian's cousin, distant. He was ordered deep in, but not the mastermind. Emma was the muscle, Neil the blade, but someone's pulling strings. And Ethan Ward, his story checks out barely. He was taken, roughed up, but he's still a liability. We're holding him for now. Adele's blood ran cold. Neil Green? Lillian's family? Jamie, she knew him, didn't she? That's why she ran. The photo of Rose and Lillian, crescent pendants glinting, felt like a lie. Lillian's confession, Rose's betrayal of Margaret Wentworth, had left out her cousin. A killer in the shadows. Jamie nodded, his voice low. We're leaning on Lillian, but she's weak, not talking much. Adele, the order's not just a cult. It's a network, old money, old grudges. Your Gran Rose, she started the lullaby to bind them, but it became their curse. You broke it open and they're scrambling. Adele's mind raced, piecing it together. The ledger, the photos, the lullaby's verse, pay what is owed. Rose had betrayed Margaret to protect the Order's secret, a debt of blood that marked Adele across generations. Neil and Emma were tools, but the accomplice, the one texting, was still free. She pulled out her phone, rereading the texts, her eyes catching a pattern. The river sees. The river waits. The river's not done. The words mirrored Rose's journal. A phrase only someone close would know. Jamie, she said, her voice steady. The texts, they quote Gran's journal word for word. It's not Ethan, not Sarah. It's someone who had the journal, before I lost it in the alley. Her heart lurched, a face flashing in her mind. Clara, the stern woman in Rose's photo, whose descendant Emma had followed. But Clara was long dead. Her family wasn't. Jamie's radio crackled, an officer's voice urgent. Sir, we've got a hit. Clara Wentworth's great niece, Anna Wentworth, lives in London. She's been off-grid, but her prints were on Ethan's car, the torched one. Adele's breath stopped. Anna, Margaret's blood like Emma, but smarter, hidden, the puppeteer behind Neil and Emma. Anna, Adele whispered, her voice cold. She's the accomplice, Jamie. She's got the journal, knows everything. Where is she? Jamie's face darkened. We're tracking her. Last seen near Blackfriars, near the first murder site. Adele, you stay here. We'll handle it. But Adele was already moving, her boots pounding the dock, Jamie shouting after her. The Thames called, its whispers clear now, guiding her to Blackfriars, to Anna, to the journal's truth. She reached the bridge, its arches heavy with history, the crescent mark from weeks ago still faintly visible. Jamie caught up, his voice a growl. Adele, damn it, stop! But she saw her, a woman, late 40s, standing by the water, her face sharp like Clara's, holding Adele's journal. Anna Wentworth. Adele, Anna said, her voice calm, a knife in her hand, crescent-etched. You found me. The lullaby's done, but the debt's not paid. Margaret's blood demands yours. Adele's heart pounded, but she stepped closer, her voice steady. Anna, it's over. Emma's gone, Neil's dead. The Order's breaking. Let it go. Anna laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Breaking? The river never forgets, Adele. Rose's sin, Lillian's lies, they marked you. I'm just the blade. She lunged, but Jamie tackled her, the journal falling, pages scattering into the Thames. Adele grabbed Anna's knife, her hands shaking as Jamie cuffed her, his team swarming. Anna's eyes burned, her voice a hiss. The river keeps its own, Adele. You'll see. She was dragged away, but the journal was gone, swallowed by the water, its secrets lost. Adele sank to her knees, Jamie's hand on her shoulder, the lullaby fading but not silent. Back at the station, Sarah was safe, her pendant confiscated, her story of Lucy's gift holding true. Lillian, awake, wept, her role as keeper a burden she'd never wanted. Ethan was released, his research handed over, his charm tainted by his silence. Adele's phone stayed quiet, no new texts, but Anna's words lingered, a hint of something unresolved. The Thames watched, its shadows deep, and Adele felt a final note waiting to be sung. The Thames was a quiet witness now, its water still under a dawn sky streaked with pink and gray. Adele Laurie Blue Atkins stood on Blackfriars Bridge, her boots scuffing the stone where Anna Wentworth had stood, her knife gleaming with a crescent moon etching. Anna was in custody, her journal lost to the river, its secrets drowned but not forgotten. The lullaby, Hush Now My Darling, the Thames keeps its own, was a faint echo in Adele's mind. Its final verse, Pay what is owed or you'll never go home, a debt she'd defied. Emma and Neil Green were gone, one jailed, one dead, but Anna's parting words, The river keeps its own, Adele. You'll see, lingered like a chill she couldn't shake. The Order of the Crescent was wounded, its network exposed, but Adele felt a shadow, a final note waiting to sound. Jamie Thompson leaned against the bridge's railing, his coat damp from the morning mist, his face worn but steady. Adele, you did it. Emma, Neil, Anna, they're done. The Order's scrambling thanks to you. But you need to rest. This fight's taken enough. Adele's arm, bandaged from Emma's graze, ached, but her heart was heavier. Jamie, it's not done. Anna wasn't alone. The text stopped, but her words, they're a warning. And the journal, it's gone. Everything Gran wrote, everything Rose hid, it's in the river. Her voice cracked, the weight of Rose's betrayal, Lillian's silence, and Sarah's half-truths pressing down. Jamie's eyes softened, his voice low. Adele, you broke their cycle. My sister Elise, she'd be proud. But you're right. The order's deep, old as the Thames itself. We've got Anna talking bits and pieces. She named a few small players, but the big ones, they're still out there. And Ethan Ward, he's back in the wind. Slipped custody last night, no trace. Adele's blood ran cold. Ethan? Jamie, he knew too much, always there. You think he's order or just a vulture? Don't know, Jamie said, rubbing his neck. His research helped, but he's a ghost now. We'll find him. For now you're safe. Sarah's clear, her pendant just a gift from Lucy, no deeper ties. Lillian's out of hospital under watch. You can breathe, Adele. Breathe. The word felt foreign. She'd trusted Sarah, doubted her, and now faced the truth. Sarah was a bystander, caught like Lucy in the order's web. Lillian's confession, Rose's sin of letting Margaret Wentworth die, had unraveled the lullaby's purpose. A pact to hide the order's blood debt, marking Adele as its final payment. She'd stopped Anna, but the river's silence felt like a pause, not an end. Adele walked to the water's edge, her flashlight catching ripples where the journal had sunk. Jamie, I need to see Lillian. One last time. She's the keeper, or was. If there's more, she knows. Jamie nodded, driving her to Lillian's new safe house, a small flat near Camden, guarded by 2 officers. Lillian sat by a window, her gray hair loose, her face etched with guilt. The crescent pendant was gone, confiscated, but her eyes carried its weight. Adele, Lillian said, her voice frail but clear. I'm sorry. For Rose, for me, for everything. You weren't meant to carry this. Adele sat, the photo of Rose and Lillian in her hand, its edges worn. Lillian, Anna's down, but she said the order lives. Neil was your cousin. Who else? What's left? Lillian's breath hitched, her hands trembling. Neil was lost to me, Adele. He joined the order young, twisted by Anna's lies, Margaret's blood. The order's not one person. It's a vow passed down to keep the river's debt. Rose wrote the lullaby to bind us, but it became a curse. I hid it, hoping you'd never know. But you're stronger than us, Adele. You broke it. Adele's throat tightened. Rose's betrayal, a wound that wouldn't heal. Lillian, my name was in the ledger, marked for this year. Why me? And Ethan, he's gone again. Is he part of this? Lillian's eyes flickered, a shadow passing. Ethan's great-grandfather was order, a scribe like Rose. Ethan wanted truth, but he's no killer. He's running like I did from what he knows. Your name, Adele, it's the order's final seal. They chose you, Rose's blood, to end the cycle. Anna failed, but others might try. Adele stood, her voice sharp. Then I'll find them, Lillian. No more keepers, no more debts. Lillian nodded, tears falling, her silence a surrender. Adele left, Jamie waiting outside, his radio quiet for once. They drove to the station where Sarah waited, her face pale but resolute. Adele, Sarah said, her voice small. I'm sorry for not telling you everything. Lucy, the pendant, I was scared. Can you forgive me? Adele hugged her, her trust bruised but not broken. Sarah, you're here alive. That's enough. But stay close, yeah? The order's not done. Sarah nodded, her eyes wet, the pendant's absence a relief. Jamie's phone rang, an officer reporting a lead. A hidden order safe house, uncovered through Anna's confession, near Tower Bridge. Adele, we're raiding it tonight, Jamie said, his voice firm. You're not coming. I mean it. She nodded, but her mind was already there, the Thames whispers pulling her. Back at her mum's flat, she sat alone, the photo of Rose and Lillian on the table, its crescent pendants a faded curse. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. No new murders, but a crescent mark faint found near the safe house. Adele's heart skipped. The order was moving, Ethan's shadow looming, and the lullaby's echo wasn't silent yet. She called Jamie, her voice steady. Jamie, I know you said stay put, but that mark, it's a sign. If Ethan's there, or another keeper, I need to know. He cursed, but agreed to update her. His voice heavy with the weight of Elise's loss. Adele stood by the window, the Thames a dark vein through London, its silence a challenge. The lullaby's final note hung in the air, and Adele felt it, a truth still buried, waiting for her to sing it free. Thank you for listening to these incredible stories. Our team would really appreciate it if you give us a like and comment. Your opinion is very important to us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed.